Hey, this is Dr. Laura Koniver, and today I want to give you a video about protecting our kids from radiation exposures and decreasing the amount of EMFs that they're enveloped in 24/7. And as a mom of two teenagers, actually two older teenagers, one almost not a teenager anymore, she's off at college, and one who's just finishing up high school, I've been dealing with this issue for years and years and years and years. And so I am very well aware as a physician of the health ramifications of our living biologic tissues being surrounded by these radiation frequencies all the time. And I know what the cumulative damage that can do. And I don't see these technologies as safe, but at the same time, I'm also a mom. And I'm not just a mom, but I'm a mom to two older teens. So I also know that they have their own thoughts and they have their own compromise that they're willing to do and not willing to do. And so I've tried to pull together a video of actionable things that you can do that they either won't notice or won't be offended by, or that they can live with. And hopefully if you're watching this video when they're young enough, you can really set the stage and the parameter to make this implementation very smooth and easy. But I'm also gonna link you to resources at the end in case your teens are older, or maybe they're fully grown adult children and you still want to suggest a few protective measures to them. I'm gonna give you links to things that, quizzes you guys can take together, printable resources and that kind of thing. And the vein of this video is gonna be, what are reasonable strategies you can implement that will not change their lifestyle so much that they refuse to do it? What can someone who doesn't want to hear it, is totally independent, doesn't really have to do what you say, what would they be willing to do as a compromise so that you felt comfortable that overall, although they're going to still have radiation exposures, they are dramatically reduced? And that's what I've tried to find as a mom and what I want to share with you today. So this video might be kind of long. I try and keep my videos under 10 minutes because I know everyone's pressed for time, but this one might be kind of long. And you know what? That's a good thing, because that means there's lots of ideas and lots of solutions. And honestly, even if just one or two things work for your family, then that's one or two things that's reducing exposure to your loved ones and allowing them to have kind of a break and to be more resilient and to boost their health, right? So if you got one thing from this video that you could implement, then that would be wonderful. And I'm going to start with all of the free things you can do, because there's tons of stuff you can do. And again, if you can just think of one way to kind of slip it into your normal family life, then that will be helpful. And then there are also a bunch of shielding tools that I will show you. I have them right here that I was able to use with my kids, and they were able to embrace it. And so it's a great compromise. What you want is to just even implement anything. One thing would be helpful. Any decrease in the exposure of your human body to these electromagnetic frequencies is protective and is worth doing, okay? So let's just start with all of the free things, because maybe that's all that you have time to watch in this video, and that's great. There's tons of free things that you can do right now, and hopefully you can find a compromise that your children are also willing to do to really protect their health. So the first thing, I'm sure you've already heard this a million times, but it's worth stating over and over again, is airplane mode. If you can tell your kids that having a cell phone is a privilege, and all you ask of them is when they're not actively using it to put it on airplane mode, you will incredibly protect them more than most people. Most people will not just hit the little airplane mode button. So if you can just start right from the beginning, you are welcome to have the cell phone. I'm providing it for you. And all I ask is when you're not actively using it, that you put it on airplane mode. I want it on airplane mode when it's charging. I want it on airplane mode before you slip it in your pocket, because there's no reason you can't just slip it out of your pocket and take it off airplane mode and check it and then put it right back on before it goes in your purse, before it goes in your backpack. When you're not actively using it, it should be on airplane mode. When you get in the car, hopefully you'll put it on airplane mode, because the car is somewhat shielding. It's made out of metal. So what it does is it intensifies these frequencies, because your phone is pulsing out this radiation and your car frame is encapsulating it, and so it's intensifying it, so it's making your exposure worse. So you want, it would be a really great idea even before they're old enough to have cell phones, when they're very young children, to have phone-free car rides. And I have to proudly say that we did this when the children were growing up. What that sometimes means is that then they're in charge of music, or they're in charge of the conversation, or they're in charge of, you have to play road games. So I can't tell you how many road games we played when we were driving. And also I gave them free reign. I don't care if I had to listen to the same song over and over and over and over again, and if it made me just want to pull my hair out, it doesn't matter. They had complete control over what we were listening to, and that is so they weren't just sitting there like this, or worse, with headphones in, sitting there on their phone. Nope. It's a phone-free car ride, it's family time, and they have autonomy over what we listen to the entire time, and they're in charge of the radio. I was never the kind of mom who was like, well, I'm the driver, so I get to choose. Nope. You're off your phones, you choose, talk to me, put some music on, stare out the window. It's a phone-free ride. And the reason you want to set that in place when they're young is because you don't want them texting and driving. There's no really place for cell phone use while you're driving anyway. So if you instill it when they're young, you first of all are giving them a break after school of having cell phone use and this frequency pelting their brains and their eyes and their face and their organs. So they get a little break on the commute, and then also, it just instills in them, you turn off your phone, you put it on airplane mode, you put it away when you're in a vehicle, because you don't need it to be intensified with the shell of the car, you know, the steel of the car. You don't really need to be trapped. It's basically like you're in a little shielding room with the hotspot in there with you, right? Just bouncing all around. So just everybody puts their phone on airplane mode and then we drive. And maybe, just like with a seatbelt, you don't go until everyone's put their phone on airplane mode and then you go. Just like you wouldn't drive unless everyone has their seatbelt on, right? So airplane mode, phone-free car rides, phone-free dinners, phone-free meals. All meals should be phone-free, and that's just, again, another break. These little breaks add up, as opposed to, you know, having a meal where you're all looking at your phone and you're disconnected. There's so many different levels of why that's harmful, and what putting good, healthy parameters of just at least eating, making eye contact, talking. But even if they're by themselves, just airplane mode, it's just part of the routine. Put the phone down and you focus on being present with the food that's going in your body. Even if there was no radiation involved, that is a mindful eating practice. That is a really good thing, so that they're in tune with what they're putting in their body. They don't have, you know, you're more in tune with the nutrition, you're more in tune with how many calories are going in, you understand when you're satiated, you understand the difference between hunger and thirst. I mean, there's so many reasons to be really in tune with what you're eating. There's even more reasons to be connected to the people you're eating with instead of zoning out. And then a third level, you really want to have a radiation-free environment when you're trying to focus on digestion. And so just these little breaks of every time you're in a car, every time you stop and eat, and all night long while you sleep, phone-free. That is the compromise for having the privilege of using a cell phone all the other times. And then hopefully when you're in transportation, like when it's the phone's in your purse, the phone's in your pocket, the phone's in your backpack, in your laptop case, it's off. The computer's off and the phone is on airplane mode. If you don't feel confident that they're going to keep it on airplane mode, there are things you can do, and this is where we get into some of the shielding tools. So I know that both my kids, I struggled for a long time begging them at night, put it on airplane mode, put it on airplane mode. If you don't put it on airplane mode, you got to dock it out in the kitchen. I don't even want it in your bedroom. But you know, you also do have to pick your battles with teens. And so we came up with compromises. And so for my kids, this is what we do. And hopefully this will work with your children too. They can have their phone, but what they need to do when they're not using it, if they won't put it on airplane mode, is to put it in a shielding pouch. So this shielding pouch has a liner that blocks 99.9% of the radio frequencies, and it even folds down with that liner over the fold, so it's really encased nicely. And you slip it in the center here and you put it in there. And then when you're out and about, and that's, you know, great for overnight or storing it, or like, so my daughter's in a college dorm, so she doesn't have a kitchen to go dock it in. She's not going to leave it in the hallway to get stolen or in the communal bathroom. So she has to have her phone right next to her. And so she's going to put it into a shielding bag and shut it. But there's also an option when you need to use it, and even parents can do this. So sometimes there are times when you're waiting for an important business call, or you want to hear that text that your kid got to the party safely, or for whatever reason you don't want to turn your phone right on airplane mode. You can still put it in, and instead of putting it in where it's lined completely around in the shielding material, you're putting it in the front pocket where it's only on one side. The shielding material will be on the back, and the front will not have shielding material. So when you slip your phone in, it can still receive calls this way, and you can hear it when it chimes. You can have your alarm set, and it'll be active, but then on this side the radiation won't come through. So if you're going to carry it in your purse, if you're going to carry it in your pocket, and you don't think your child, you're not confident that they're going to put it on airplane mode, you could compromise that they put their phone into something like this, and that they then have to be aware, if they're only using the front pocket because they want to keep the phone active, that make sure they place it oriented with the shielding material against their body. So when it goes in their backpack, they want the shielding material between them and their phone, or in their purse, or whatever. So this is an option. And another option, and you can even double up if you want, but another option is this Bedside Shield. So it is just on a stand like this, and you just put it on your nightstand, and say you have your bed over here and this is where you're sleeping. You're just going to place your phone on this side. So this, again, blocks 99.9% of the radiation coming out of the phone, and it just acts sort of as a shade. Obviously over here it's completely active, so it's not ideal. Airplane mode is way better. Best of all, it's not even in the bedroom. But again, we're talking about ways to compromise with our teenagers, and this is definitely better than nothing, where they put their phone, if they won't turn it off, and they won't put it on airplane mode, and they really need to have it in their bedroom, at least put a shield so that the phone is behind the shield and they're on this side. They can reach around, they can check it 1,000 times, and then they put it right back here. That way you can have the cord going, it can be docked behind it. Again, better to have it out of the room, but if you're gonna compromise with your teen, which is what this video is about, a bedside shield is a fantastic way to at least reduce, at least put them in a shaded spot so that they're not getting the direct radiation. And if you want to, you can have them slip it into this bag and then place the bag behind this shield. So you're really, I mean, this is significantly reducing the amount of radiation. This will reduce it coming from this side, and this will really reduce it coming towards them. So this is a great combination to consider if you are not confident that they're going to follow through on that airplane mode. So you want phone-free dinners, you want a phone-free car, and you want phone-free bedtime. So these are all ways you can do that. You also want to remind them, this is another free thing that I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, but it's worth putting on your little list to run through with them and remind them, speakerphone only. We're not going to use cell phones as a traditional phone. Absolutely not, ever, never. It's got to be on speakerphone, or you're texting, or don't use it. Literally don't use it. Do not hold it to your head. It's got to be every inch of distance, every probably centimeter of distance makes a huge difference on the amount of radiation, right? So holding it 3 feet away is ideal. I don't even know if my arm is 3 feet long. It probably is just about that. So holding it arm's length, now I'm getting older, my eyesight's not what it used to be. That's a little far for me. But even if they'll just hold it another 6 inches away, that's a big, 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 big difference. But for sure, you're not ever going to want to use it as a traditional phone. So tell them speakerphone is the only way you're allowed to use this as a phone. Even if you have to keep trying and keep talking about it and keep reintroducing it, like when they were little babies and you were trying them on broccoli or trying to get them to eat green beans, and you just keep at it. This is what we do. It's healthy. If you don't want it this time, that's fine. But next time, I'm still going to put some on your plate. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's even when they're pushing against you with some of these parameter changes, there are things that you can do without their permission and without their agreement and without their knowledge. And honestly, this is where I started with my teens. It's taken years and years and years of me talking about this and just placing this information, just strewing it around in our conversations, strewing it around in their life, our lifestyle, and for them seeing also that I do what I'm suggesting they do. And slowly but surely, I have seen a lot of change, and they've become way more open-minded with working with me with some of these things. But there are a few things I started with that they didn't even need to know about. And the first thing was to shield our router to decrease the Wi-Fi signal strength throughout our home. For me, if you can turn your Wi-Fi off at night, turn your router off at night, that's awesome. For me, that doesn't work because one of us, someone in our house is working almost 24/7. Either I'm up in the middle of the night getting something done, or I've had it and I'm going to sleep, but my son's working on something, or my son stayed up late to do a project, but I get up really, really early because I need to catch up on work. And so there's really not that much time where we could really have it off. Sometimes there's only a few hours of overlap. So if I could turn it off for those hours, that would be great. But in the meantime, what I do so that 24/7 the signal and the frequencies are less on our body is I use a router bag. So this is the large one, so you can see it's like the size of a standard pillowcase. It can fit any router we have. I know that we've got ridiculously huge ones with like 20 antennas now, way more than we need. So I sell a smaller one, but I just wanted to show you how big they also come so that you don't have a reason to you know, don't think that it won't fit your situation, because it will. And what's wonderful about this is not only is this a really wonderful, amazing shielding material that will significantly decrease the radiation going throughout your entire home, but it is also mesh, so there is airflow and you don't have to worry about it overheating. It's perfect for use with your router because the router can breathe. It still allows signal to go through, so you can work just fine. I have a signal still on the opposite side of the house, but I have this on, and it's at least decreasing the radiation to our body while leaving the Wi-Fi functional, you know, for our work and educational purposes when we need it. So that's the first thing you can do. And do you think I told my kids that I put this on the router? No, I just put it on the router because it's my home and it's my router, and I want to decrease the signal. We don't need it that strong. So this is the first thing that went on. The second thing I did without mentioning anything to them is to shield them while they sleep. So there are shielding blankets. Unfortunately, this is the most expensive thing I'll recommend, and it is almost cost prohibitive because shielding material is very expensive. So while this is kind of manageable for most people to get this. And this, if you could only get one thing, it would probably be this, because this decreases the radiation through your entire living space in your entire home and every bedroom in your home. But ideally also, if you can cocoon your kids in shielding material as well, so that their bodies slip into this beautiful sanctuary, so they can get hours and hours and hours of restorative deep sleep, so that they can face whatever they need to face the next day. That is ideal. But unfortunately, when you use material like this, or even more expensive than this, because now we don't want to mesh, we want it to be a solid piece of shielding material, and then you're putting it on a huge full-size blanket, it does get very, very expensive. But you can use it for the rest of their lives. For me, what I did was I got some shielding material and I placed it under their mattress, between the box spring and the mattress. And if you don't have a box spring, you can just put it on top of the mattress and then put a fitted sheet on to secure it so it doesn't move around. So that's the first thing I did without even saying anything to them, is just next time I wash their sheets, I put shielding material underneath so that they're shielded from under, because our bedrooms are on a second story, so now they're shielded from anything going on underneath. And then I put a blanket, and then in order to not even bother to like run it by them, I did it like a hotel. I put a sheet under the blanket, and then the blanket, and then a sheet on top of the blanket, so it's sandwiched in there, so they didn't even really notice, what's this different blanket that's underneath. It's just really, really pretty, and I don't have to wash it that much, because now I have a sheet on top and on the bottom, just like they do in hotels. So I only have to just wash some sheets once in a while. So I don't really even have to wash this shielding material. So I don't have to worry about it degrading over time. And so now, at least at night, even if they won't do another thing, even my daughter at college, she might not know it, but she's got a shielding layer that I put underneath when I put her little mattress pad on her bed, and then her blanket's got a layer of shielding material that's embedded in the center of it. And so whether you buy a pre-made shielding blanket, or whether you can get raw material and sew it on yourself to save some money, ideally, if everyone could just sleep shielded, and you want shielding top and bottom if possible. Or I do have shielding sleeping bags if they're willing to go down into a little sleeping bag. Then you've got the 360 of shielding protection. Or if they're open to shielding, and much less expensive, is if they'll wear a robe. I mean, maybe that could be your compromise. Okay, you can work on your project in your room with your laptop. I want you to turn your laptop off when you're done, and I want you to wear this robe while you're working. When you're home, I want the robe on, and when you sleep, I want you to sleep in a robe. The robe will also wrap you, and it's much less expensive. Front, back, neck, down to your knees with shielding material. So that might be a good compromise. I don't know. With my kids, there's no way they would wear a shielding robe, even if I begged them. So for me, it was, I'm going to shield their bedding, and then this bedside arrangement that I already told you about. And then I begged them to put it on airplane mode, but since I can't be sure, we do have this set up just in case. We have phone-free meals every single time. Hopefully, phone-free driving. That's the law, and it also is, if you're not using your phone while you drive, then you put it on airplane mode. So that keeps them protected, but then as soon as they get to their destination, turn it immediately back on and send me a text that you got there safely, and I'll get off your back, because when you're in the car driving, have it on airplane mode. You can download playlists or just use the old-fashioned radio so you can still listen to music without having your cell phone active. You should not be picking that up, and you should not be on that while you're driving. The next type of exposure that you can decrease in their bedroom without even really telling them is the electrical fields. So in walls, there's all kinds of wiring, and they all emit a certain electrical field, which is putting a little bit of man-made stress on our biologic tissues. And so all cords also have the same, current running through it, even when it's off. So if you have a bed, let's say I had a lamp here right by my bed, even when I switch it off at night, that lamp and that cord is running a current that's just at the ready. So when the switch goes on, the light will light up, right? So it's still active, and so that cord is still putting a field that I don't necessarily want my brain to be in while I sleep for 7 hours. So what we have instead are these outlet plugs that are grounded, so you can even use them with grounding tools, but you would plug it in, and instead of turning your lamp off up here so that the cord right by my head all night is active, I'm just going to use this little switch on the side to be on and off. When I turn it off this way, it will still turn the light off, but now the cord that's plugged in and running all the way up to the lamp, it's as if it's unplugged. So this absolutely kills it. It's a little kill switch. If they have a lamp, turn it on and off with this. If they have a boombox or their TV, you just want to turn it on and off through this instead of on and off through the switch of the appliance, because then that cord is still radiating that field. So by putting these on every outlet in their bedroom and just having them turn things on and off this way, you're at least wiping out that electrical field frequency that is surrounding them during their waking hours, guaranteed, in every room that they ever go in all day long. So at least at night, this is something that I don't think you have to have a lengthy explanation. You can be like, this is your on-off switch for your lamp now, please use it. I mean, you know, hopefully it's not a huge ordeal. So that is another thing. Now, getting a little more transparent, you're going to probably have to get them to be really on board with shielding themselves, to wear things like shielding robes. I also have shielding tank tops. That's a great compromise as well, because it's just a black tank top, very tight fitting, so you can wear it under. You just wear it under whatever your outfit is, so nobody has to know. It doesn't ruin their fashion sense. So, like, I also have shielding sweatshirts and shielding jackets, but you know, if they want to wear what their friends are wearing and not necessarily wear shielding clothes that are visibly shielding, they can just put on a black tank top. It will go under everything. It's just like a little black unisex tank top for men and for women, and so they can dress whatever they want to on top of it, and nobody would know that all of their abdominal organs and pelvic organs are shielded 360 all the way around, because the shielding material is on their back as well as their front. So it's a nice a wraparound protection from all angles. And then also, I'm about to post on my website shielding boxers for women and for men. So the ones for men have a little fly in the front, and the ones for women don't. So that would be a cute set. A pajama set is a shielding tank top and some boxers, and I think that would make a really great gift if they're willing to wear shielding clothing. And yet, you know, nobody would know that they were wearing that. And then the next step is, if they use laptops, of course you don't want them to put it directly on their body. Ideally, they use it on a desk situation, but if, like, my daughter doesn't go on a desk, she's in a dorm room that's teeny tiny and 3 people are crammed into it. So they're not all just sitting at their desks. A lot of times they pile in, she'll squirrel away on her corner in the bed, or they have to go, they're at the library on a little comfy chair, or they're taking it to the coffee shop, whatever. So obviously she's not willing to take this to a coffee shop, but when she's home and when my son is home, they are willing. When I remind them, often I have to go up, I take their laptop off their body, put this right on down over their body. I, as a woman, like to have it up over my breasts as well, so I put it like this, and I just sit behind, so it just kind of tucks. And now, all the way down to my knees, all the way up, I have this beautiful, wonderful shielding material that is highly effective in blocking radiation from your laptop to your body. So it just puts not only a little extra distance, but it actually has shielding all the way, edge to edge, 4 feet by 4 feet. And I have a couple different styles of this blanket, and I love it. And we have them in every room of the house and in every bedroom. And when you're going to be, even just on your cell phone, it's great. On the sofa, you're watching TV. I mean, there's no reason you can't wear this all the time. But for sure, if you're going to put your laptop on your lap, which hopefully you're not, but if you realistically are, instead of having a big fight about how they can't put their laptop on their lap and they got to go sit at their desk and they have to, there is also grounding cords, by the way. If you want to ground your computer, you can plug it in a USB port and then plug your computer in, and it will not charge your computer, but it will ground your computer. So that might be something that you can compromise as well. So if they're willing to sit at a desk and ground their computer, that's ideal. But if they're not going to, at least you can compromise for them to please use a shielding blanket across their abdomen, protecting their fertility, protecting your future grandkids, protecting their heart, protecting their digestion, protecting their liver, protecting their, spleen, kidney, you name it, lungs, everything. So, and it folds really small. I mean, you can travel with this. You can certainly take it anywhere you want to go, but at least you could have one in your home that you share. And this is way cheaper than a huge blanket that would be for your bed. So really, if you wanted to, you could just sleep. If they would be willing to sleep, it's 4 feet square. They could sleep with this in their bed, and it would at least shield all of their major organs in their chest and abdomen and pelvis. So I really do like this as well. Now for this, again, your teen has to be sort of on board. But for teenagers who are reaching this age of where they need proof, they need evidence, and they want to make their own conclusions, I totally support that. So getting this meter, I'm going to give you a demonstration of what it would show. Maybe a way, if you are struggling with getting them to take seriously throwing this on their lap when they're about to use a laptop, maybe this will help. So you just turn it on. I featured this in a different video, so if you've seen this before in one of my other videos, you'll already know what I'm talking about. It measures the magnetic fields, it measures the electrical fields, and it measures the high frequency waves, which is like your Wi-Fi. So where I am right now, the magnetic field's okay and the electrical field is okay, but this is oscillating, and it's not too bad right now. If it's getting close to my cell phone, it'll probably go up because I'm recording this on a cell phone, so it's going up a little bit. But so you can show them that, and I'm trying to reach my laptop over here right on my desk. So now I'm going to show you what happens. So my laptop is closed and off right now. I'm going to turn it on. Oh my gosh, instantly. Did you see how it went up to red when I opened it up and it became active? So this bottom line that shows the Wi-Fi, the minute I opened my laptop, that's what it did. So let's get this further away and you can show when you get further away, it's reducing. So this really does show distance. This is what I was talking about with using your cell phone as far away from your body as possible. Distance makes a difference, makes a big difference. And so just placing shielding material, just placing things a little bit further away, just getting that cord a little bit further away from the bed, just docking something, even if they're not willing to turn it off, just docking it in a different room. That's incredibly protective. Just putting this tiny layer of mesh over your router, that incredibly decreases the radiation exposure throughout your entire home. So a little change does make a big difference. It's not wasted. If, like I said at the beginning of this video, if you only did one of these things, if you only just got through to them, just our meals are technologically free. We are not bringing cell phones to the table. We're not bringing anything to the table. I don't even want their I don't want smartwatches. I don't want wireless earbuds. I don't want any of it when we're eating a meal. If you just did that, their body has that break for that amount of time. Ideally, if you can get your child to sleep shielded all night long with all of the technology out of the room or on airplane mode or turned off, and with their outlets flipped off manually with the little kill switch I was showing you, and with their cell phones, whether they're on airplane mode or not, behind a shield, you are giving their bodies hopefully a 7, 8, 9 hour break from the assault of radio frequencies that are stressing them out all day long. And then also, if you can, make our roads a safer place and make their bodies have another break with every time we're driving. We are not looking at our cell phones, so there's no reason it shouldn't be on airplane mode. We are having technology-free transportation. That puts in place, especially when they're young teens before they start learning to drive, that there should not be a mix between using a cell phone and driving, right? It should not be. That should be when we have a break. And the last point is to remind them, to show them with a meter. If they think it's just pretend, show them with a meter the measurements. You're not making up those measurements. The meter is sensitive and it's picking up and it's showing you with a tone and it's showing you with a light exactly what's happening when you're getting close to your cell phone, exactly what's happening when you're getting close to that laptop or that smartwatch or those earbuds. It's going to show you that immediately, and often that will be really eye-opening for them. I mean, living organisms need downtime. That's how we become resilient. That's how we repair. That's how we face the next day. That's how we get strong. That's how we rebound. We really do need a break. We can't go all the time, just like we need to sleep at night or we need to rehydrate. We really do need a break from technology. But even technology itself, which doesn't really need a break, right? Because it's just fake. It's not living tissue. Even that, you can see the battery charge go down and it still needs to be docked. And so taking that as a cue of, while I need to recharge my cell phone and while I need to recharge my laptop, at least during that time, then I'm going to give my biologic tissue a break to recharge. I'm going to go out and go on a run. I'm going to go throw a football with actual real friends in real life. I am going to even talk on a corded phone to my best friend who lives across the country. I'm going to go take a bath. I'm going to spend this next half hour while my phone is recharging, or my phone or whatever, my laptop is getting recharged so I can continue working on my writing project. I need to give it a little bit of time to charge back up. So I'm going to make a really nice from scratch lunch for myself or dinner for myself, or I'm going to make cookies or whatever it is. Use those opportunities of showing them when you are not on technology, re-engage in life and in healthy living habits. That really, they need to hear that message. So even if my stupid computer needs to retake that battery before I can finish writing my next blog post, for sure I can step away and go on a 10-minute walk outside in my neighborhood. So I hope that this has been somewhat helpful. For sure, there's other things you can do that I've missed, but I'm trying to keep it concise, and I'm trying to share transparently what worked and what didn't work so well with my own children. Hopefully you can institute these ideas a little earlier on, but I really don't think any child below 12 should really be even having these issues at all, because they really probably shouldn't be having their own cell phone and having these direct exposures. When my children were really young, all they had was a computer, and it was in the main living area, and that's it. So obviously as they got older and they started driving, I wanted them to have their own mobile phones. So it got a little bit more complicated. But hopefully you can find some middle ground and know that even just doing one little change is helpful. Doing two little changes is incredibly helpful. Making their sleep very, very restorative and protected sleep would be the best thing that you can do, the best gift you can do to make sure that the next day goes well for them and they have the best chance at remaining healthy all day long, no matter what they're exposed to out and about in the real world. I'll give you some links to some other resources I have. There's an online course that you can take with your child. It's only 10 minutes long. You can just send them the link. You don't even have to take it with them. And they can run through and be educated on some of the main points about what these wireless frequencies are doing to our health. It's not very alarmist. It's just very matter of fact, and some tiny little tips similar to what I shared now on ways that they can really like clean up their radiation frequency hygiene. And then there's a ton of other. If more of the issue is with you and your kids, not just radiation exposures, but also you find there's an element of a psychological addiction, a screen addiction. It's affecting their mental health. I'm going to give some resources for that too, because these are very interlinked. And I tried to really just focus on, reducing our cumulative radiation to our living body, but hopefully for improved health. But certainly there's a huge psychological component that I can address in a later video. And in the meantime, I'll give a link to some resources that parents can use. There's a whole host of other interventions we can do to help break the psychological dependency on screens, on social media, on gaming. It was just beyond the scope of this one video. All right, well, thank you so much for listening, and I welcome any comments below, and I will see you next time. Thank you.